Now we're off. So it's a hot one. Right now it says 88 degrees on the bike. I am in my Lone Rider. I'm sorry. I'm in my Knox Armor jacket. Um, this one seems to give me a little bit better ventilation than the Adventure Spec. I really can't say that with honesty yet because I haven't really ridden with the Knox when it's hot outside. I have ridden when it's hot with the Adventure Spec. So this is going to be a pretty good way for me to compare it to about the same temperature and I rode with that. Let's see what happens here. Just going to run video for just a little bit, just to kind of get the feel for how it's going. This is the first time I've done anything with the Insta 360 X5. So with the X5, it has the Osmo or the 360 mic, and that's magnetically mounted inside of my helmet. It's actually just a little bit left of my face, which is where it should be to work properly. And I'm kind of curious as to how this is going to sound compared to the DJI Mic 2. The whole reason behind switching to the X5 was I'm trying to get to where I have one camera on the vehicle at a time. So it's pretty annoying with Insta. This is still a hang-up that I have with the X5. I don't know why it's any different. It doesn't automatically reconnect. Saying that now, I powered on the microphone away from the motorcycle, come out to the bike, and I saw the power light was on the Insta 360, and I thought I had left the camera on the whole time. It had been a couple hours since I'd been out, so I doubt very seriously that was the case because the battery strength is still full on the X5. So if that's the case, that's pretty cool because you could actually turn the microphone on, and turning the microphone on wakes up the camera. And that would be awesome. So I'm hoping that I've got to a single source solution where it's just X5. If anybody's wondering where it's mounted, it's actually on a clamp mount, the Insta 360 motor mount, to the windscreen on the bike. So that in itself is a bonus for me because I've seen some other mounting options and it involves an extension and stuff like that. I'd rather not do all that. By having it set up the way that it is now, like a 360 it, you're going to get everything. You won't even get the windshield, which is also pretty awesome. If it was mounted closer to me, I don't think you would get as much of a perspective. And I don't want to have any kind of an extension on it. So if it was mounted to the bars, it would be mounted too low. So it's kind of where I'm at on the setup. And this is just, these are roads close to home. So it just gives me a chance to get on it. I have been on it for 3 weeks. Last time I was on it was at night reviewing the photo lights. So one thing I can say about moto lights is it's freaking awesome. It's totally awesome. So as far as noise and everything, if you're trying to give me some feedback of what you think about my audio sound, I'm at 65 miles an hour. 63, 62, right there. Fifth gear. So I'd be curious to see what your feedback is on how the audio sounds and whether or not it's something you can deal with. Some of you watch on television, some of you watch on your phones, and some of you watch it. Like, so the last thing I want to do is be any more annoying than I have to be. Anyway, that's where we're at right now. A little bit rapid deceleration here. Oops. Take one of my twisties. New tarmac, so nice to get on something besides. What I did ride last, I went all the way down to Memphis, about an hour, 45 minutes, and one way, and that was a lot of 4-lane divided in some interstate. It tends to round the tires back out a little bit. One of the other things I'll be talking about in one of my reviews is decibels, multiple earplugs. So I'm wearing them now. Basically, I have come to the conclusion that, especially with modular helmets, you're going to get road noise, and that road noise is up above 90 decibels at 60 miles an hour. It's going to cause hearing loss and maybe some permanent over time. So I'm looking for a way to protect my ears a little bit from that, and so I'm trying the decibels, and so far I like them. I can still hear everything that's going on around me. I was able to watch the playback on my video to check to make sure that the mic was working with them on, but I've gotten rid of a lot of that wind, you know. So all in all, I'm pretty impressed with the mic. Everybody that I watched basically said that at interstate speeds especially, you have to have earplugs. So I kind of agree with that. Kind of my thoughts on it. So I wanted something to make it as comfortable as possible and as effective as possible. I actually played the Cardo with stereo running behind this, and I could still hear the Cardo just fine. So I might have turned the volume up a hair, but you know, the Cardo was still audible in my ears. So I was pretty happy about that. I have to look to see exactly how many miles I'm at on the bike. I believe I'm close to 1,500 now. I'm cycling through the screens now. $1,527 miles. So I was pretty close to 1,500. Real impressed with the tires. So I have the Metzler Next 2s, and they are doing exactly what I need to do, which is great wet weather performance and great on the dry pavement. I don't really do anything off pavement, so if I do, it's going to be gravel road. It's not going to be anything super strenuous. What I want is awesome wet, and that's what I'm getting out of the next. So I'm glad. A lot of people would ask, why would BMW ship a bike to the U.S. that's a trophy with a 90-10 tire? Well, the answer is 90% of the road, 90% of the use of the BMW GS, at least in this market, is done on tarmac. So it was good for me. I'll be interested to try a 80-20 or a 70-30 tire, but I don't have any interest in a 50-50. One of the things you have to consider when you start thinking about that type of tire is, if you're thinking about that type of tire, then you need to be thinking about your loss of performance on pavement. So the more aggressive your knobbing is, or your tread pattern is, the less contact patch you have with the asphalt. So, really thinking about where you're made for riding is, making a decision on your tires based on that is probably a pretty good idea. But anyhow, that was my little rant, but that was my ride to go along with the test on the X5. We'll see how that all works out. In the long run, I'll be curious to see what it sounds like in post. Quick 0-60. All right. See you in a bit. Hey. So I just cut the flip. I saw a little bit of rain. Figured I'd get a little bit of a ride into it just so I could check out the waterproofness of the jacket and pants. There's ventilation. There's really good ventilation in the legs. Obviously, I've just closed all that back up because, counterintuitive to have mesh open when it's raining, but the ventilation there was good. The ventilation up top, believe it or not, they said that this was a breathable material, but it was waterproof. I'm going to give them a hats off and kudos. You would not think that a rain jacket would be this breathable, and it is. I am getting a lot of airflow even through my Nox Armor jacket, and right now it is pouring. I'm not saying it's really, really bad rainy, but I'm just standing up so I can try to get the full effect on it. And I'm getting a lot of ventilation when standing, which is really a breath of fresh air because, that's your first concern with rain gears. Is it completely intolerable when it's raining as far as temperature is concerned, or you just bake it into stuff? The dehydration would be as much of a concern as it would be with wet roads, over time. So I feel pretty reasonable about it, Overall impressions, just a couple minutes in the rain. I'm glad I made the investment because I did not expect it to be as breathable as it is. I have Gore-Tex fishing gear that I've worn for years, made by Cabela's, and that stuff has vents in the armpits, and I actually used it as an outer layer a lot in my regular job. So I am really familiar with Gore-Tex, and I am a big fan of it. I'm a huge fan of it, but it does have some breathability qualities to it. I've had that stuff a long time, and it's always been good to me. So this wasn't practical for me to wear on this because of the hood on the back of the jacket. And obviously a hood is going to be a little bit of a detriment. But anyway, I did get a little bit of a shower. It's really obvious to me that I'm not wet anywhere. So I will get a chance to look inside of the Lone Rider motor bags when I get back to see if any water's gotten into those. I don't think any has. There's a waterproof bag that's inside of the motor bag, so your stuff's not going to get wet. There's drain holes in the bottom, so they are actually predicting that maybe there would be some condensation and moisture that would get in there that would give it some venting. But they're at the bottom of them, and I don't foresee there being a problem, especially because it really did not rain that hard. I mean, I'm literally going to drive into the sun here in just a second. So, but yeah. The Knox Urbane Pro waterproof gloves, fantastic. No issues there. I guess it didn't get them super soaked. I did wear the Knox Urbane Pros in the rain. I got kind of trapped in it on my way home from a trip to Indiana, and they got soaked, but they're mesh, so the leather didn't dry right away, but the outer parts of them did. And but the feel and everything of these Urbane Pros, you can feel a little bit of insulation in there, so it's not like my hands are sweating. There's not going to be any ventilation with it being a waterproof glove, but it's really comfortable on your hands, and there's a little bit of thickness to it that makes me think that it would be good for a 3-season type situation. And obviously when it's dead cold, and even if I got heated grips on, it might, I don't know. I just have to wait and see how that goes out. Anyway, thoroughly impressed with the Venture Spec and the Linesman jacket. I am really surprised that I got as much ventilation as I was getting for it to be a waterproof membrane. That's space age. Those guys over there at Venture Spec, you really need to check out their Super Shirt 2.0. I have it at 2.8 pounds. There's absolutely no reason in the world why you shouldn't be wearing CE level 2 protection on everyday rides. I mean, you can't scream about how heavy it is. Obviously, in a situation like this, I'm able to put my outer layers on to protect myself from the elements. So, with the Super Shirt, you're very modular in what you're wearing, so you should be comfortable all the time. But anyway,